Hi everyone, welcome. I'm Annabelle, Talent Creator Coordinator at BioBuzz, and I'm super excited to have everyone here today for another great Career Catalyst session. Thank you guys all for joining us today. We are thrilled to have Chris Sarlo, founder of Life Science Wealth, with us to discuss a critical topic, creating a financial roadmap for life science professionals. So Chris is a seasoned financial professional with a unique understanding of the financial needs of those working in the life science sector. He founded Life Science Wealth with the mission of supporting professionals in the industry, by providing tailored wealth management strategies. And Chris has a deep-rooted passion for helping others navigate their financial journeys. Today, Chris is going to be sharing actionable insights and strategies to help you proactively plan for career transitions and financial success. Before we do dive in today, I do want to give a quick thank you to our sponsor, BioTrack, for sponsoring today's session. BioTrack is a leading resource for upskilling in the life sciences. They've trained over 17,000 scientists, and you can learn more about them at biotrack.com. And I also do want to mention that today is part of the BioBuzz Talent Lab. So that's your go-to hub for career growth, job opportunities, and industry connections. If you haven't joined already, I highly recommend you get on and join. You can join our beta, and you'll be able to access more resources like this. All right, so I'm going to hand it over to Chris so we can get started today.
Perfect. Thanks, Annabelle. For those of you that are listening, I'm just going to kind of go through a little bit of information. I'm going to go through this probably fairly quickly when it comes to it. I'm a big believer in kind of the Q&A session. One of the things that Life Science Wealth was built on is that we kind of do not believe in rule of thumb. We believe that everybody has those special circumstances that make them different, that would allow their path to be a little bit different than what everybody else's would be. There's always different circumstances, there's different mindsets, there's different things that go along with it that allow a change to what your specific roadmap is going to look like. So we are big believers in that. So I'm going to kind of go over this on a pretty high level when it comes to it pretty quickly, but I want to leave a fair amount of time for those individual questions that come to it. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of jump in here. This is just our disclosures of the different things that we have to discuss when it comes to measuring up with FINRA and the SEC. So that's just kind of quickly there for you. When it comes to our mission statement, as Annabelle said, we are uniquely and exclusively focused on the life science arena. And our goal is to be recognized as the premier wealth firm for the life science industry. The things that we've put together in our process has allowed us to make sure that we are giving back to the industry that is saving lives on an ongoing basis, and that becomes very important to us. So just kind of quickly who we are, as I said, we are exclusively specialized in life science companies and professionals. So if you think of us like a USAA or Navy Federal Credit Union, things along those lines, one of the spouses inside of the clientele that we have, at least one of them is inside of the life sciences, and honestly, quite often it's actually both of them, because a lot of scientists seem to kind of get married to scientists. It's a cool little thing that we see, historically speaking. So we focus on those underlying needs of life science professionals, and a lot of people always ask me, what makes life science professionals different? Like, why do we need that exclusivity? And there's a couple of different reasons for that. The number one biggest reason is that life science professionals are so laser focused on the job in front of them. They are there doing research, they are there doing manufacturing, they're there doing all the different things, but their guidance is so laser focused to what they're doing on a day-to-day basis when it comes to their job that they tend to put finances on the back burner. And this has become an actual problem inside of our industry, as many of the people who have built careers over time, they've put it on the back burner so long that they're getting to an age where it's going to get a little bit more difficult in order to hit the things that they want to do. So we're going to talk a little bit about why you should always start early, but always understanding what your goals are going to be. I've built a process. I've been doing wealth management for 27 years now. And the process that I built exclusively. So our process goes through a whole bunch of different things. And candidly, when you're talking to most financial professionals out there, it is investment advice. It is retirement planning. So they're going to talk to you about buying this stock, buying this bond, buying this mutual fund, buying this ETF. And that is one function of financial planning, but there's a lot more involved in it than that. We utilize all 9 areas of wealth. Now, not everybody is going to utilize all 9 areas of wealth, but we have the opportunity to. And when you're building wealth, investment advice, of course, is going to be one of the things. But when you're taking into account taxes, when you're taking into account legacy, when you're taking into account protection for you and your family, when you're taking into account saving for the next generation, when you're taking into account philanthropy, when you're talking about cash flows, when you're talking about mortgages, when you're talking about debt and credit and things along those lines, all of those different pieces actually play into growing wealth. Investments going up is one way to increase your net worth, but lowering credit is also another way to increase your net worth, because lower debt means there's more money that's in your pocket. And we've built this to maximize individuals' goals, dreams, aspirations for what they're looking for, to making sure that it's specified to you in your situation. The other thing that I'll jump on in a second is our belief system. We've built this belief system inside of this company to make sure that, once again, we are maximizing the benefits to the most number of life science professionals that we have, that are out there, and that are clients of ours, to making sure they're getting the best thing that they possibly can. And lastly, we are backed by a company called LPL. If you don't know who they are, they're the largest independent broker dealer in the United States, with about $1 trillion of assets under management. So by no way are they a small little company that people are fearful of dealing with. We have some of the biggest and best backing that we could possibly have. So let me talk a little bit about our belief system. And the reason that I built this is to make sure more people understand why we do the things that we do and how we can help the individuals that are associated with our company. The first one, obviously, being empowering science through financial freedom. 90% of stress is financially related. And that becomes a very huge deal when we're dealing in the greater scheme of things. In our mind, if you are going to work and you are highly stressed because of all the different things going on, and especially if we look at the last month or so with NIH layoffs, with FDA layoffs, with job insecurity being out there, with rising interest rates, with rising inflation, finances are building a stress bomb, so to speak, that are just getting inside of people and making it worse and worse and worse. And when you're working with these high levels of stress, you become ineffective. You're not working at your optimal level. You're not working at the best ways, because your mind is constantly on and you're thinking about all these different things in your peripheral. And the simple fact is that if we can take the pressure off of some people by doing what we do, you guys are going to be better at doing what you do. And that's going to be huge for the future advancements of science and society as a whole. The longer people live, the healthier people's lives are, the better they can recover from accidents, from surgeries, from different things, the better their life is going to be. And we want to play an important part into that, to making sure that the people that are inside of this industry are optimizing the best that they can do. The second thing that we believe is what's called the power of planning. With proper planning, dreams do become inevitable, and we are big believers in that. If you set your mind in order to get something done, you have the likelihood of getting it done. When you're throwing a dart at a wall of what else could be out there, it's having that specific focus of planning increases the likelihood of success. A proven process for success. Our process, as I said, is individually designed to what you and your family are looking for. And by designing that process to be specific to what you want, there is a higher probability of success. The easiest way to kind of think about this is that if you have a heart attack, you're not going to go talk to a general practitioner. right? You're going to go talk to your cardiologist. You're going to go talk to somebody who's a specialist in the area that can get something done for you that provides a higher level of knowledge and of certainty to make sure that your path to recovery is going to be the best that it can be. All right. Next one is understanding drive excellence. The process that we've built is not just a numerical process. It is a combination of numerical and emotional. And what that does, it allows us to get a better understanding of what our clients are looking for, of what the dreams are, of how they see their future life. And we want to get it as close to that future life as we could possibly get it. That's kind of the goal of what we're looking for. And as we know more about our clients, the chances of getting there is going to be highly correlated to knowing what they want. People who leave their current advisors leave for 80% of the time, they leave for one of two reasons. One is due to a lack of contact. And we hear this all the time. I haven't heard from my advisor in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever it's going to be. The second one that we hear is, I don't believe my advisor knows what my goals are. And the reason that they don't is because they are singularly focused on the investment side. They are singularly focused to say that if I buy this stock, my client's going to be better off. If I buy this bond, my client's going to be better off. It's always about just the rate of return. Now, as I said earlier, rate of return can be important, but it is not the end all be all of most people's strategies. There's a reason they're trying to get a rate of return. But behind that, there's family security, there's family independence, there's leaving a legacy, there's having philanthropy, there's all these other subsequent goals that are inundated around the rate of return, but are still very important to the clients. So the way that things happen is when things go bad, when there's a death in their family, when there's a loss of job, when there's all the different things that causes those forks in the road that could be construed as negative, what is a money manager going to do? When you lost your job and they're going to say, well, go buy Apple, like it doesn't make sense, right? There's got to be a time and a place and a system that goes, and our process and our system accounts for all of those different things that are going to be out there. That being said, we believe in the importance of balance, right? A properly allocated portfolio that balances risk and reward over time is more often than not the best way to succeed in time. And the reason, there's been Nobel Prizes for economics, there's been all these different things that have gone out, Adam Smith, different things that talk about why asset allocation works, why a balanced portfolio works, all these different things. And we are believers in that we need to concentrate on the other 8 value propositions of building wealth over time over just truly the investment side. And the last thing that we believe is wealth excellence for all. Wealth excellence is achievable for anybody, regardless of income, through planning, guiding, and implementation. 69% of the millionaires that exist in the United States make less than $100,000 a year. That being said, inside of life sciences, the average salary inside of life sciences for 2023, we don't have 2024 stats yet, was $142,700. That means almost, most of the people that are inside of this industry make well above what the average millionaire earned over their lifetime. That means inside of life sciences, we believe every single person should be a millionaire at some point in their lives, if not multi. If you do stuff right, if you get things to where they're going to go, there's legitimately no excuse not to be. And we work with our clients through the good times and the bad to make sure that they're going to be balanced to get them to where they need to go in life. And we truly believe that anybody can achieve these numbers. Now, talking a little bit about why life sciences is behind. We are arguably the smartest industry in the world. I'm sure everybody on this call who is inside of life sciences wouldn't have too much issue arguing with that. And as I just said, we are one of the best well-paid industries that exist in the world. But the average net worth of people inside of our industry is actually below national average. So if you're really smart and make a lot of money, Why are we below national averages when it comes to those different things? It really doesn't make sense. And here's some of the reasons why. Most of life sciences don't have the time that it takes to take care of their things. As I said, when they're working 50, 60, 70, 80 hours a week to concentrate on that brand new research and that groundbreaking study that's going to be going on, they don't have time to be worrying about their life, about their finances. And I'll commend you all just even today for being a part of this, because you took that extra step that it takes to learn some different things to hopefully change your life for the better. And when you have that better life, it's going to be easier for you. The other big thing is life sciences are a little bit nomadic when it comes to work. They're going to work for 7.8 different companies over the course of their career. When we think of people that were our parents' age, a lot of them worked for one company over the course of their life. They have one pension. They have one thing that's ready to go. We're dealing with people who, if they've work their benefit programs properly, they're coming out with 8, 9, 10 different 401k plans. When it comes to retirement, their stuff is spread all over the place, and they don't necessarily know what they deal with, and that becomes potentially a problem as well. Speaking of 401k, every single year inside of our industry, $23 billion is left on the table in unmatched 401k and ESOP programs. This is part of your compensation. When you're working with companies like BioBuzz and BioTrack, and they're getting you a new job and they're doing different things, you have to understand the total compensation package that you're being offered in order to make a decision about which job, which company, which different thing you're going to take. And if you're leaving $23 billion on the table collectively, that's a lot of compensation that was ready to go inside of your pocket that's just being left inside the company's coffers to do something else with. That was your money that you had the ability to get and increase your compensation amount that you chose not to. Sometimes and the biggest reason for that is if you don't do it day one, statistics say you'll never do it. Number two is most people will tell me that it was a stepping stone job for another job. They needed to get the experience inside of this to move on to something else. If you go to a point where you weren't able to vest, you still get your money back. You may not get the company's money, but also that job as a stepping stone could occur within the same company, right? So if you move from, research analyst up to director, up to, all the different things that move you along the line, as long as you stayed in the same company, that money is yours, right? And you're going to get your vesting period. You're going to get those different things. And these numbers have the ability to grow, and I'll show you in a minute why these numbers make sense. And then lastly, when it comes to legacy, as you can see here, 42% of American families have at least a basic will that's going to govern what happens to them in the event that they pass away. When it comes to life science executives, that number drops all the way down to 5, which is a massive difference from the average American family. So basically what we're saying is 95% of the people that are in life sciences out there, if they were to pass away suddenly tomorrow, the government is going to use a formula to decide who's going to get where, what, and when. And it's not going to be based on your wishes of what's going to go on. We consider a will one of the cornerstones of financial planning and of wealth management. And 95% of the people that we deal with do not have it in place. So is normally one of the number one things that we put as part of the plan is to say, let's go sit down with an estate lawyer and let's get some of the stuff, at least the basics, put in place to make sure. We can always change it in the future as life changes and things happen, but we at least got to get the basic will that's down and put in place. So quickly here, this is the 9 different areas of wealth that we deal in, right? So cash flow, obviously is a big thing, money in versus money out, investments, protection, retirement, education, philanthropy, estate planning, taxes, and housing. Housing is in there because it's normally, for most people, the biggest investment that they're going to make over the course of their life. And it becomes very important to how they're going to live their life when it comes to it. Now, this is a quick example of what we look at as the roadmap to success. And the roadmap to success is quite simply that. It's a roadmap. It's where are you now and what is your destination? What are you trying to achieve? Where are you going to get? So what steps are currently in place to get you there? Are you walking? Are you biking? Are you taking a car? Are you flying a plane? To what ability do you have to get there faster or easier compared to somebody else? But it's going to be dependent on your current circumstances. What challenges are preventing your arrival? What do you have in place? And this is what makes people different, right? Maybe there was a sickness in the family. Maybe there was a loss of job. Maybe there's something out there. Maybe it's, a lot of people say, I don't make enough money to get me there. And that, as we've proven, that's untrue, right? How long has it been a challenge, or how long will it be a challenge? You're going to stay status quo unless something changes, right? So what changes need to be made to eliminate that challenge? There's always something we can do to adjust. There's always something we can change to get you on a better course. And that's part of the process that we go through. We have to figure out where those gaps are, what those challenges are, and then find a way to fix it, change it, make it better, make it more efficient, and then allow you to get to your destination on a quicker basis. And lastly, what are the chances your destination changes? If you look at most people's lives and you take 10 years off and go back 10 years ago, what you thought your goal was or your destination was could be very different than what it is today. And when we use our process and we build our systems, they're meant to have pivot points inside of there, which means as your destination changes, as something happened in your life, whether maybe it's a marriage, maybe it's a child, maybe it's grandchildren, maybe it's a loss of job, maybe it's change of career, change of income, more money, less money, my company got bought out. There's all kinds of different things that can change your destination. And what your goals are today may not be the same they are 10 years from now. So the old school way of, if I invest $500 a month for the next 25 years at an 8% return is going to get me this number, that's a very odd way of looking at life. And it doesn't make sense to the vast majority of people who are trying to plan their lives in a very specific way. We're going to work with people over time to say what's adapted, what's changed, and how do we go along with what the new changes are to develop a new plan and a new destination for where things are going to go. And here's some of the basic things about accumulating wealth. Number one is understanding net worth. And as I said in the beginning, worth can be adjusted in two different ways. Either your assets go up or your liabilities go down. Both of those things increase your net worth over time, but you have to understand the effects of what your current situation is doing to growing that net worth over time. Set financial goals. If you're blindly aiming at something, when you're doing your research, when you think of your job on a day-to-day basis, you have a very specific goal in mind that you're searching for. Yes, some medicines have been found by accident. That is true. That is not the norm. The norm is what you're looking for and you're going to go out and find it and setting those goals is normally the best way to find it. Now, you could go out and win the lottery and that changes everything, right? But that's not the norm. Purposeful planning gives you a higher likelihood of attaining your goal. As we talked about a little bit, understanding total compensation and making sure you're getting the most you can for what you do. That's part of your job, right? Let's find ways to maximize it and getting the most. Saving money always makes sense, right? If you save it, there's money there for retirement. There's money there for a rainy day. There's money there in case you lose your job. There's money there for all the different things that life has to throw at you, whether it's getting, a new car, a new house, whatever it's going to be. Takes money to get these things, right? That's the world we live in. Starting early, I'm going to show you a little quick example of why starting early makes a difference. But if you are later in life, you still got to start. You still got to take that first step and you still got to make sure you're moving towards your destination. Starting earlier helps, but that doesn't mean the people who are in, their mid 40s, early 50s, late 50s, that doesn't mean you shouldn't start. You miss some of the time, but there's still things that we can do to make it better for you. All right. Spend consciously. This is huge when it comes to, I don't care what industry you're in. We are in a society that the vast majority of people spend more money than they earn. And that's just a natural aspect of the ways that we live nowadays. Whenever, my wife and I love watching real estate shows. And whatever show we're watching, they say, oh, you know what? My budget was $500,000. Great. They end up buying a $700,000 home on the show. because it's kind of their dream home and all these things. And they push different ways to get that going. If you're buying that more expensive house, that money that was allocated for all the other things that go along in life are now on the house. And you can't just change things on a dime when it comes to those. So you got to be careful about how you're spending, what you're doing, and what you're doing it on. All right. Avoid high interest debt. This is just a given. We see people all the time that are carrying tons of different dollars on credit cards. You know, credit card numbers can go up to 30% on an annualized interest rate. There's no real investment over time that can make up those types of numbers when you're paying those big dollars when it comes to interest. I remember talking to a client one time. The gentleman was a very high earning income, made well into the seven figures, carried almost $1 million outstanding on credit cards when it came to it. So the $1 million at 20% means, you know, he as an example was paying $200,000 a year on solely interest on credit cards alone. That is a crazy number, and it's never going to work. So this gentleman, as we talked about understanding net worth as well, to make that kind of money, he actually had a negative net worth. And we see it all the time on news specials, on different things where there was an actor, there was an athlete, there was somebody who won the lottery, who got this huge sum of money and made these really large income levels that claim bankruptcy. And you're like, how is that possible? It's because they're paying high interest debt. They're not spending consciously. They don't have a net worth, all these different things that go along with it. Have an emergency fund. Everybody needs it. Consensus is about 90 days that, you know, if something should happen, you got something to fall back onto, so you're not immediately figuring things out. It was kind of interesting when the first round of FDA, NIH, and CDC cuts came out. I love going on homes.com every once in a while, and the number of houses that went up for sale in the greater Washington area was absolutely crazy. And people's first reaction after potentially losing their job was, I'm going to sell my house. And that becomes a knee-jerk reaction. And these are the things that having an emergency fund and having some place to go in to buy you time and options to see how this is going to play out before you have to make these rush decisions. And it was amazing. As soon as that was announced, within 2 weeks, like 1,000 new homes went up for sale. And yes, I know it's springtime and it's the time of year that it is more, but it was a larger amount than we have seen in years past. So it was, to me, it was a direct cause. Another one here is what's called protect what you built. Once people have built up a certain amount of net worth, there is no logical reason to try and go for a much larger number. If you're in your 50s and you've built up enough to make your life comfortable, it is very difficult to say, if you have $1 million that's going to 2 million and you're in your 50s, chances are at 50, you're not going to buy a bigger house. Chances not you're going to start driving a Lamborghini at that point in time. You're not going to be going for those different things. But the risk of doubling your number is also the same as risk as cutting it in half. If doubling your number doesn't create that much better of a lifestyle, but the risk of cutting it in half absolutely drains you and your family, then you should not be taking on that type of risk. Slow and steady, once you hit certain levels and certain numbers, slow and steady will win the race for the vast majority of people. Protect what you have and make sure that you have what you need to. You've worked hard for it to get it, protect it, right? And then obviously we say work with the professionals. Yes, people are going to say that I'm biased because I'm one of those professionals, but when people put it on the back burner, when you don't have the time, when you don't have that thing, working with a professional will keep you on track. And that becomes very, very important if you want to hit your goals, right? And this is a little bit quickly about where that start early kind of comes from. If you wanted to have $1 million in investable assets and you had 40 years to do it, it only takes $311 a month. If you are in a 401k matching program where they're giving you dollar for dollar the matching that you have, it's only going to take you $155 a month because the other $155 is coming from your company, right? So these are the things that we talk about ways to get it going. If you waited just 10 years, that number jumps to $710 a month to get you there. If you waited 20 years, look at these differences about how much they're going, right? So I'm going to start at 45 instead of 25 to get me to my 65 retirement. It now takes $1,758 a month. If I wait another 5 years beyond that, it takes $3,000 a month in savings to get you there. And if I wait another 5 years beyond that, and I'm starting at 55 to retire at 65, it takes $5,500 a month. Most people don't have that type of disposable income when it comes to, most people are still having a mortgage at that point in time. Most people are, when you have kids, when you're paying for school, when you're doing all these different things, it becomes very important, right? So we want to build it out over time. If there's any, we're going to go up to questions in a second, but if you guys ever want to email me, take a look at what we do or give me a call, here's just a way to get a hold of us. And now I'm just going to open it up to questions and, be happy to answer anything that you guys have. So Annabelle, we can go from there.